There is only one thing that you can sell yourself on or use as a coping mechanism after the Texans probably blew any chance they had at winning the AFC South in a 24-21 loss to the Jaguars. It's that CJ Stroud is clearly better than Trevor Lawrence at this point in both of their careers, which is pretty impressive because with CJ Stroud, he's only 11 games in. Here's why I say that. And I'm sure that the Jaguar fans in my mention for basically saying Lawrence is good, but very overrated and not criticized on the same level as other quarterbacks that are probably in his actual class. Justin Herbert's also very similar on that front. Stroud can just do more. Stroud can extend plays. Stroud, I think, is better as a runner. Not by a whole lot, but by enough. And Stroud is more accurate. And sure, you could look at the statistics and try to tell me that because Trevor Lawrence threw for 364 yards, which was more than CJ Stroud, which is just a little bit less of 310. You could say, well, he threw for more yards in this game. But if you're one of those people that's bringing yards to an eyes fight, to a debate about quarterbacks, I'm generally going to ignore you because I don't think that yards mean that great of a deal when your receivers are running for massive yak play after play after play. The Jaguars had some massive plays in this game where they took advantage of the Texans defense for gains of 42, 42, 45, 57. You take away two of those, which were essentially on screen. We're talking almost 100 less yards on the game. Then factor in that Lawrence got bailed out by several pass interference calls that were ticky-tack. Maybe they're actually pass interference. And there was two actually, that definitely went the Texans' way. One of them resulted in a Jaguars interception. Trevor Lawrence, that pick he threw, there was definitely a hold on that play. It should have been called back. But Lawrence has these moments where he's really inaccurate with the football. Specifically, he sails the football high. And we have been billed that Trevor Lawrence is one of the greatest quarterback prospects we've seen in years. I'm sorry, I just have yet to see it in any Texans-Jaguars game. And I talked about this on my Gallant Says podcast after the game on my YouTube channel, and a bunch of Jaguars people are coming after me today saying, cope, cry harder. I mean, yeah, it is a coping mechanism, but I think it's pretty obvious that the Texans have the better quarterback after this game. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars, did say this after the game. This is the beginning of a beautiful rivalry.
I want the teams in our division to be as bad as possible. So, no, I'm not. That's how I see it. And the way they're playing, it's exciting. Yes, there's going to be I'm sure, some great matchups down the road. And CJ's he's playing lights out. He's doing a great job. I mean, to be a rookie and to play how he is, I got a lot of respect for him. I know how hard it is. I've been in that position. So he's doing a great job, and it's going to be fun for years to come, hopefully. So, but no, I mean, I wouldn't prefer that. I'd prefer if the guys in our division didn't have good quarterbacks. It'd be better for us. But he's doing a heck of a job, and just going to keep getting better. He's still obviously young and a rookie, and to be playing how he is now, it's impressive. It's impressive to watch. And
what an ACC guy saying, yeah, I'd rather not have to go up against a great quarterback. Very ACC.
That's why I played at Clemson, not Georgia.
Right. I'm going to go to Clemson. There's literally no other good school in our conference. It's going to be fine. It is pretty nuts how fortunate Clemson was to be in that conference for all those years. And look, they were good. They had some really good players who, of course, have gone on to the NFL. But, man, what happened to that conference? We're talking about a conference that had Florida State and Miami. And Clemson lapped everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, Florida State had Jimbo Fisher as their coach.
Right.
After having Jameis Winston and 18 pros that one year. And then Miami, it's the 21st century, and so Miami has not been good.
It's insane that Miami has not been good since moving over to the ACC, and honestly, since a couple of years before that. I saw this online. How am I supposed to respond to this? This is a Jaguars fan, UCF_Jaguar, who brought the heat because Texans fans were being mean to him this past week, and now they have to eat it.
Texans fans, I tried to tell you guys, the Jaguars run the AFC South, okay? This is our division. Trevor Lawrence is better than CJ Stroud. Better luck in 2024. Have fun competing with Indianapolis for second in the AFC South. Duval.
Okay, so that last part, I bet he wishes he could do that again.
He wishes he could do that again.
Yes. He was cooking at first. I mean, yes, the Jaguars run the AFC South. Would you brag about running the AFC South? Would you brag about that? And I know this is also a coping mechanism, but would you brag about running the AFC South? I mean, that would be akin to me saying, say I'm a citizen of some Middle Eastern country. Like, we have the most basic human rights in the Middle East. Oh, that's neat. It's still the biggest little man. It's still the largest micro, you know what. It's not necessarily something you want to brag about. And there's another factor, Sean. We discussed this before the show. Like, hey, credit to the Jaguars. Right now, they run the AFC South. But are they always going to be in the AFC South?
Yeah, because last time I checked, like, London isn't anywhere in the south of anything.
No, it's not.
South of Greenland, maybe.
Now, Dallas is in the NFC East, and Dallas is not East.
So it is possible that the London Jaguars can be in the AFC South in 5 years. But
one of the most northern cities in the NFL that's on a totally different continent is in the AFC South. You know what? I kind of like it. But that's going to be the fun part, and let him enjoy it. Jacksonville is a miserable dump. It's terrible. It's even more spread out than Houston, incredibly, which is saying something considering that there's nothing there. It's the place in Florida where all the hicks live. Yeah, they have Waffle Houses, and Waffle Houses are fun if you want to people watch someone getting smashed in the face with a chair as they're trying to eat waffles after drunkenly stumbling home from a bar. This is before they go and get in their pickup truck and DUI their way home to a family that hates them because they live in a trailer with 7 people. That's the Jacksonville experience. That's what they've got. It's a college football town that hasn't seen a lot of success of late because most people that are there are Gators fans. It hasn't been great. Tim Tebow, he went to school there. That's neato. He also was a Florida Gator, greatest Florida Gator of all time. But it's tough in Jacksonville. So we should give them this. We should. And yeah, I sound condescending. And maybe I do sound like I'm coping. But look, the Texans have the better quarterback. And I know that there's like this EPA statistic that people have been throwing out at me saying like, well, Lawrence was better than Stroud. I don't know how you could have watched that game yesterday and said that Lawrence is the better quarterback. I get it. The Jaguars had some drop passes, and they also had some ticky-tack calls that probably should have been called against Texans defensive backs, which is saying something because there were a lot of calls that went Trevor Lawrence's way. But while the Jaguars run the AFC South going forward, does anyone actually take them seriously as a threat in the AFC? Because that's what you have to be looking at yourselves at right now if you are the Jaguars, especially after last year. Didn't you do this already? Haven't you won the division? I mean, now it's time to, broaden your expectations. And look, when you live in a trailer in Jacksonville with 17 other family members like cousin Jethro and Billy Ray, like it's hard. Like it's hard to imagine a big wide world out there like London where you're going to move eventually. It's hard. It's not easy. But you should probably start looking at how you compare to the other teams in the AFC because it should be about winning games in the playoffs that don't involve the Los Angeles Chargers pissing their pants.
At least when the Texans won the AFC South a million times, it felt like in a row, with Bill O'Brien with no chance of actually winning anything meaningful or going to
Doesn't matter, Brian. AFC South champs.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only guy thumping his chest about winning the AFC South was Bill O'Brien when he got into BTS. Mm-hmm. That's it. Not the boy band, Brian T. Smith.
Guess who else moved to London? Brian T. Smith. Brian T. Smith's gonna cover the Jaguars soon. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. I can't wait for Brian T. Smith on the Jaguars beat. He already knows. He's just setting up shop. He's just biding his time. He knows they're going to move.
Cheerio, Coach Reich. Coach Peterson. And
yeah, that's, jeez. Oh, R.I.P. to Frank Reich. Look, I just think that given you're going to move to London, like maybe, I don't know, like have higher aspirations.
I also now this is going to be a shot at a completely different group of people. It is fitting that he has UCF in his Twitter handle.
Yeah.
Talk about low expectations.
Oh, you're right. So, Sean, I went to school in high school in Florida. I went to high school in St. Petersburg, Florida. I was just back there for Thanksgiving. Central Florida, do you know how many people go to that school?
75,000
It's
people.
massive.
It's crazy how big of a school it is.
I know I'm going to sound like an a-hole here as someone who was a cake eater and bougie, but we were already on one, so we may as well keep on going. Like Central Florida is like the safety school of safety schools in Florida. And look, you went there, fine. And some people go to these schools because, hey, they're paying for your education, and that's great. But I mean, if you went to Central Florida, you wanted to go to Florida, you didn't get in. You wanted to go to Florida State, you didn't get in. You probably wanted to go to Miami. Miami's pretty expensive. You didn't go there. Maybe it's a step above South Florida, but I mean, you could have gone to FAU. Like that's in Fort Lauderdale, huh? That's fun. That's a fun old time. FIU. That's in the general Miami area.
That's the thing. There's
Florida Gulf Coast.
There's so many more fun Florida schools that are, again, very easy to get into. Basically, all of them except for Florida, I feel like, are like pretty easy to get into. And Miami. Miami's a pretty good school. And you chose to go to the one that's in Orlando.
Oh.
That's in Orlando.
So, hey, here's the thing Jacksonville has. It's not Orlando. Orlando is, again, I lived in Florida. There is nowhere more worthless than Orlando. It is just 2 theme parks. It is horrible. Anyone who voluntarily lives in inland Florida, what is wrong with you? Why would you want to live in the same place as Disney World and Universal Studios, which, by the way, is so expensive you can't even afford to go there if you're Jethro living in your trailer of 25 people up in Jacksonville before you drive 2.5 hours down there. But hey, at least Jacksonville is on a beach. It's on a beach. Orlando, the worst. But like Jacksonville, I mean, count yourselves lucky that you have a professional sports team.